the Palace of Speed. Early on in this race. We are back for the final race of Season 11 of the Spec-5 World Tour from arguably one of the greatest racetracks in the world, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. My name is Alex Andersen. I am joined in the commentary booth by Randall McGrew with Adam Thompson in our virtual production truck. The final race of this season at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Road Course. Updates on the championship. Sean Hayes has already locked up the Open Class 1. In terms of the Pro Class, I believe Mitchell Peak has a 12-point gap, I want to say, over both Ronnie Coates and Camden Hibbett, so it's going to take a lot of work for them to get back up there. Randall, what's your take on it?
Three drivers still have a good shot at this as long as Mitchell Peak has a nice clean race and finishes in 13th or better, maybe 12th, depending on some bonus points, then he should lock up this championship. So he just needs to take it easy out there, have a good qualifying, get some good track position, play it safe, don't be too aggressive. He could be the champion.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, it's just consistency is key this race. Mitchell doesn't even have to do that great. He just needs to do what he's been doing all season, just finish consistently and finish inside the top 10. That's all he has to do. Not even in the top 10. He can finish in 11th or 12th, so he just needs to just have a consistent and clean race, and he will be crowned champion at the end of the day. On the open side, however, Sean Hayes has already mathematically locked up the Open Class Championship, so fantastic racing from him, and just as long as he starts this race, he has the championship, and that's a really impressive feat in this series.
Yeah, we thought for sure last season he was going to be the champion, and then that streak of bad luck there right at the end of the season snatched it away from him. Ray Lombardi was able to steal the trophy. Now, after this short season, he's got it in his hands after only 6 races.
Yeah, and even if it were a larger season like we usually do with 10 races, it would be even more impressive, but just a great display of driving from Sean Hayes as we get into the final qualifying session of the evening. Randall, who's your pick to qualify on pole? You have quite a list of drivers here, and I actually don't think we've ever raced on this layout in the Spec-5 World Tour before, so it's a new challenge for all of these drivers.
Well, Camden Hibbett was at the top of the timing tower at the end of practice. I'm not sure if draft had played a role there, but I got my eye on Mitchell Peak. He's definitely going to want to snag pole just to give himself a little bit more cushion in the event that something goes wrong in the form of the bonus point for qualifying on pole. My money's on Mitchell.
Honestly, for my pick for pole position, I gotta agree with you there, Randall. I mean, although one thing I do want to point out, there's one driver that hasn't been racing all season that I'm just now seeing is registered for this session. 4,000 road eye rating. He's only C-class. Joshua Soto is back. He has not been racing pretty much all season, but he is back for the final race of the season at Indianapolis, and especially on a track that we've never been to in this series. I'm looking at that number 35, at that number 135 car.
Definitely a good choice, and even if he doesn't get pole, we definitely will see him play party pooper to somebody in that top 3. You got to think Josh Soto is going to be at least on that podium, if not on the top step at the end of the night. We're jumping on board here with Mitchell Peak as he's coming through the penultimate corner, a very tricky, tight left-hander, and then a nice sweeping curve onto the oval front straightaway, going in the wrong direction if you're on the oval. The long run down to turn 1, going to be huge slipstream opportunities here in a big braking zone at the end of it. Going to be the prime spot for overtakes. You're going to see him brake at about the 400, maybe closer to the 300. He's really going to be pushing here all the way nearly to the 300, down to first gear. Just kiss that curb a little bit, and then feather the throttle through this left-hander. There is no cambering on this track anywhere where you want it. And these cars drive like go-karts. It's so easy to put too much steering input into them and get the rear end stepping out. You see he's coming through the infield section now. This flat-out chicane onto this mid-straightaway here in the middle of the track. You see he's using all the width of the track, making as straight a line as possible to the right-hand side of the track to open up the entry for this left-hander. He's going to brake at about the 300 board, down to first gear again. Just kiss this curb as well. Those big curbs, you can touch them just a little bit, but you don't want to hit them very hard. Through this section is all second gear, very little brake, if any at all, mostly turning the car with the throttle. Eat a lot of that curb on that second right-hander to get a good run out onto the short chute between oval 1 and 2. And then they're going to dip down into this moto loop. Another first gear right-hander with one of those big curves. You see he gets his wheel up on there pretty big, and this very tricky left-hander. You want to get as much of that curve as you can, straighten out that corner as much as possible, get those hands straight, get back to that throttle, hug this curve as you turn right, back onto the oval front straight to finish a flying lap.
Yeah, it looked like a pretty good lap there. I'm not sure where that's going to put him for now. He's kind of stopping into the final corner and down the front straightaway. Looks like that lap didn't get Mitchell Peak up into the pole position. That's still going to Camden Hibbett at the moment. There's Sean Hayes across the line there in 5th. As it looks like down the front straightaway, Michael Coates just went up to P9. Now we're looking at, excuse me, hold on. Randall, you can take over for a second. I think I messed up my cameras just a little bit.
We are looking at Sean Hayes now coming into turn 1. He's up to P5, so making a strong showing, but not that far ahead of Josh Olson. So we have 2 open class drivers really punching above their weight here into the pro class field. And don't look now. Here's Charles Vaccaro going to take that 5th spot away from Sean Hayes. That's 3 open class drivers inside the top 10. One of them is in P5. P5, 6, and 7 are all open class drivers. This is amazing stuff. You normally don't see them getting this far up the grid at the start of a race in qualifying. So definitely a lot of points they can get here. It's too bad for them that Sean Hayes has this locked up already. This is a great showing out of Charles Vaccaro, Sean Hayes, Josh Olson. as we're now on board with Ray Lombardi coming into the short chute between ovals 1 and 2 and going to hit that moto loop here near the end of the lap.
Yeah, as Ray Lombardi heads into that tight little chicane, he's currently sitting 14th overall, gets a pretty decent run through there. As just now flat foot all the way to the end of the lap. Now down the front straightaway he will come, and I think it should be a pretty decent lap for him as he heads towards the yard of bricks. Tom Athan goes up into P6. That makes it a 4-car open class field from 8th through 11th. That being Tom Athan, Charles Vaccaro, Sean Hayes, and Josh Olson. As Ray Lombardi up to 5th from that lap.
Yeah, you can tell they're definitely getting those tires up to temperature now. We're going to be seeing the fastest laps here right at the end of the session out of each driver as they have the smallest amount of fuel, warm tires that aren't too worn. They're able to really lay down some flyers at the end. So I think we have a few more trickling through. See Josh Soto with a green sector in there. Rui Coimbra's got a green sector. Scott Keane, a green sector. So they're finding some more speed out here as the tires warm up. But it's very easy to overdrive these cars on this track due to the lack of camber and elevation change anywhere. It's a very slick track. They're going to be struggling for grip on the first couple laps. Yeah,
definitely. And that's just one thing you have to look out for. And that's really been consistent with the Miatas as they've been updated recently on the iRacing service. Is just the grip levels have changed so much, and the driving style has changed more from normal road cars pretty much to borderline driving it like a go-kart. So it just takes a really unique driving style, and that's where a lot of drivers have excelled. Camden Hibbett's still top of the charts as Rui Coimbra up into 7th, Persilva into 18th there with those laps as we have just under 5 minutes remaining in qualifying. Looking at Ray Lombardi on another lap, heading out of the final corner. Alexander Searle up to 14th. Ray Lombardi is going to head towards the yard of bricks, middle of the track, trying to optimize speed. He's currently P5. And it looks like across the line he's not going to improve. He'll stay at a 1.74. It looks like he'll try and get one more lap in onto the 36 car through the final corner. That is David Staub, currently P20, going to be looking to improve out of the final corner up to the wall, a bit higher than what Ray did across the yard of bricks. And it looks like for David Staub, looks like not updating yet. I don't think that lap counted for him, so I'll have to go on another one here. Is Scott Keane into the pit lane now from 4th place, as it looks like Michael Coates, Ray Lombardi, and David Staub are the only drivers I can tell are on the track right now, as David currently heading to the first couple of corners. This man drives in the Idemitsu Mazda MX-5 Cup in real life, so definitely knows the ins and outs of these cars. Just trying to get a better lap set at the moment in the number 36 machine.
You see these cars going through turn 4 in particular, they're going to be fighting the rear end a lot. So early on in the race, we're going to be keeping an eye in the mid-pack around turn 4. Somebody's going to be offline and have a very, very tough entry into that 4th corner. And I won't be surprised if we see somebody spin. Right now, Dave Staub looks like he's handling the tires pretty well. He's got them up to temperature. Last lap, got it invalidated. It's easy to get a little greedy in a couple of these spots and touch the grass and invalidate your lap time. So I suspect that maybe he took just a little too much curb, possibly in that low speed second gear section there and the end of the second sector of the lap. So we'll see if he's managed to keep this one clean and bring it home and improve upon 20th, because he's definitely faster than he's showing on the leaderboard right now.
Yeah, Zeal head through the final corner now, gets a nice wide entry, full throttle from here to the finish line. He's green first sector, yellow in the second 2 sectors, so we'll see what happens as he heads towards the line now. Across the yard of bricks, it looked like a 143.3. And as iRacing registers that, it looks like that didn't even count either. So David Staub just not able to get a lap to count right now. So it's just struggling behind the wheel of that number 36 car. Michael Coates going to try and head across the line right now. I don't think that lap will count for him, as it looks like he's on a 3-minute lap. So probably going to start one here. Not sure if he'll be able to finish it. I think he should by about 20 seconds. If he does it optimally, he'll be trying to improve his lap as well. David Staub, green first sector there. So drivers still all over the place trying to improve laps.
Yeah, well, I've watched Dave Staub race in real life in these MX-5s. He definitely knows what he's doing. So we've seen him last week make his way through the field. Maybe not the strongest qualifier, but definitely has the racecraft to get some of those spots back during the race. He also races in the Lamborghini Super Trofeo Cup at a few tracks. So that was pretty interesting to catch him out there in a Lamborghini at VIR. I didn't know that before I showed up. I knew he was in the MX-5, but seeing him in a Lamborghini was pretty cool.
Yeah, and I mean, it definitely shows the skill level of this driver. He definitely knows exactly what he's doing behind the wheel of a race car, and he's showing it, or he's been showing it so far this season, just trying to get a better qualifying spot right now at the Indianapolis Road Course to round off this season. Gets the left sides a little bit in the grass there as he heads back towards oval.
Anders Surley in P14. Michael Coates, P15, was not able to improve that lap there at the end. Greg Mack, P16. John Casey, P17. Bruce Silva, P18. Andrew Kosick starting in P19. Dave Staub buried all the way back in P20. Jerry DiPiero in 21st. Paulo Coimbra in 22nd. And not setting a time, Greg Brockway, P23. We'll see if he takes to the grid.
Guys, now field lined up on the grid. We're just going to wait for about 30 seconds for the field to get rolling. As Randall, let's head to this at the moment. What are your predictions for tonight at the Indianapolis Road Course?
Well, I think the slipstream is going to play a huge part here. There's two big long straightaways where you're going to be able to slipstream, and both of them have a big braking zone at the end. So you're going to see some good overtaking opportunities using that slipstream. I think we're going to see a little bit of chaos, especially in turn 4 in the opening laps on these cold tires. We're going to see some drivers struggling to get temp into those tires. They really need to do something during this pace lap to build as much temp as they can. And I think we're going to see a nice little dogfight for the win.
Yeah, we always do in this series. I honestly think the main chaos point is going to be that little left-right flick right before the infield backstretch, as it looks like a bunch of cars have already almost hit each other, as one car has decided to not move off the grid. I'm not sure who that is on the inside there, but they aren't just stationary. That looks like it is Ray Lombardi. Oh, there he goes. He's starting to move now. But that was a bit of a slow start from him. Ray, you doing a little bit of texting and driving there. You got to pay attention to the road, bud. But as this race starts to get underway, like I was saying, I think the main problem area is going to be that left-right flick. And, I mean, the reason I think that is we've seen it in real-life races with the NASCAR Cup Series going to this track and the IndyCar Series going to this track. Everybody just seems to struggle with that track, especially because you're all filing in there 2-3 wide, trying to get as much spots as you can, and somebody just ends up wrecking somebody, and then it's a whole situation where people are just trying to dodge while heading through a high-speed chicane that you really don't even lift for in pretty much any car. So it's a really difficult challenge, especially on the first lap, and everybody's just being so aggressive.
So Cam DeHibbett's going to control this field as they come up onto the oval front straight. And if I was in his position, I'm going to wait as long as possible before I go so that I give the minimum chance for slipstreaming. But even if he waits to the last possible second, that start-finish line is pretty early on that straightaway for this layout. So he's going to be having to defend that turn 1 immediately. So you see them getting onto the brakes, accelerating, slamming onto the brakes, trying to get some heat into the brakes and through the brakes into the tires. You see them doing a little bit of weaving around, trying to build some surface temps as well, trying to get as much heat as they can. You see Camden even there still doing the speed up and slow down, trying to really build up some pressure or tire pressure and tire temperature by way of hitting those brakes hard, getting some heat into the brakes, and using the friction from slowing down to really put heat into the core of those tires.
Yeah, that's another thing that needs to be mentioned, where the start-finish line is on this track. When you make a move on the final lap, you're going to have to make it going into this sort of chicane complex here. This part of the track, I believe, was originally used for the motorcycle races on this track. Is the iRacing safety car going to dive into the safety of the pit lane? So you have to make a move through here. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be very easy to hold your own heading through there. And then with the early finish line, drivers are going to have to make their moves early and make them fast. But through the final corner comes the field. The final race of season 11 of the Spec-5 World Tour is currently all up to the drivers as they head onto the front straightaway. The flagman awaits them as they head down the front straight. The green flag is out, and we are racing at the Indianapolis Road Course. Camden Hibbett and Joshua Soto with a pretty even start. They're already fanning out. Sean Hayes taking them 3 wide now down the front straightaway to the inside of Rui Coimbra. Looks like it's not going to work. He'll fall back in line. Michael Coates trying to get something to happen to the field 2 by 2 as they enter turn number 1. Somebody made a really, really bold move there heading into turn 1. A bunch of people miss it 3 wide there behind them. I'm not sure who that was, but 3 wide is the 5 car of Alexander Searle trying to make a bunch of moves. Joshua Soto still leads them. Here's a replay of Sean Hayes. It looks like he went around there, Randall.
You see, they enter the braking zone. He gets into the back end of Rui Coimbra just a little bit and has to jump out at the last second to make a move. And then he comes in, gets way, way onto that curb, bottoms it out, sends it bouncing, spins on his own, doesn't take anybody else with him, gets it going back again. Now he's got to get his nose down and get some of those spots back.
And actually, I was looking at the live feed there for a second, and there was another wreck in turn for the corner before the high-speed chicane. There was another wreck, I believe Greg Brockway was involved. I think Tom Athan and Josh Olson were in it as well, so let's see if we can maybe get a replay on that. But currently, Joshua Soto with the lead as they head into the chicane for the first time. Camden Hibbett with trying to make something happen, but here's the replay of that wreck.
Just like I said, we had there's a little bit of contact, helps that 77 car around, and we see another car, the 21 there on the inside, trying to get back to the good racing line. Both of those cars side by side. As we have chaos here in the final sector, I think that was Michael Coates and was that Jerry DiPiero possibly? I see mowing some grass over there. And yeah, we'll have to get a replay to see exactly how that developed, but a few cars taken out of this race early.
Yeah, as there are already drivers in the pit lane. Here's the replay of it. Charles Vaccaro. And I'm just not sure what happened here. It just looked like as they were heading into the chicane, it looks like as they went into the second part of it, Charles just looks like he just got loose, just went around on his own. Michael Coates nowhere to go, did a really good job getting around that, but he spun too. Jerry DiPiero got tagged in the rear end and went around heading into the final corner. Headed through the grass, brought it back onto the racing surface, and here's a replay of Michael Coates.
We see Jerry DiPiero coming here through the penultimate corner. This is where he's going to get collected in that incident from Charles Vaccaro spinning the car. Looks like maybe, just unfortunate there for Jerry. It looked like he was going to get clear of that, and at the last second, the car of Michael Coates rolled backwards just a little bit and tagged him. But Charles Vaccaro looked like maybe he was carrying a little too much brake. As we see somebody out there way off in the grass, the 5 car, all 4 wheels off, manages to get it back going. That's Camden Hibbett. That has huge championship implications. He's really going to have to knuckle down and not let one mistake turn into a bunch more mistakes if he's going to have a chance to get this victory tonight and to get the championship.
Yes, he looks like he's leading the race at the moment, just took it over Joshua Soto. But he is not going to like who is in third place behind him, because at this rate, Mitchell Peak easily has the Pro Class Championship, and for Camden to get this one done, Mitchell needs to fall back to at least 12th place, at least 12th place for Camden to even have a shot at this championship, and for Mitchell to finish 12th, Camden would have to win the race, and with a driver like Joshua Soto that is definitely going to be hounding him all day long, that is not going to be an easy task.
And I apologize, that was Alexander Searle in the 5 car. It had Hibbett there on the side, and I just jumped immediately to Camden Hibbett. We saw a bit of bump drafting going down the front straightaway. Josh Soto going to play the waiting game here, it looks like. He's maybe going to push him again. No, he's going to show the nose. We're going to see a move for the lead coming into this low speed section here at the end of the second sector. Down to first gear. He's got the inside line. He's going to get this pass done easily. And Camden's going to fall in line behind him, lurking there in third place, Mitchell Peak.
Yeah, but the thing about this is Camden needs to lead as many laps as possible. Let's take a moment and review the open classes. Bruce Silva after that slew of first lap incidents, has taken the open class lead over Sean Hayes. As these drivers currently head into oval at turn 2, Sean got a really good run out of that corner. He'll show his nose to the inside now, and it looks like he will easily take that lead before that corner is over. So Sean Hayes already back into the open class lead.
Brusso taking a wide line through there and kind of just giving Sean the spot, and is going to fall in behind him and maybe set him up for a slipstream pass at turn 1 in the braking zone. We'll see if he can hang with him here. Doesn't get a very good run out of the penultimate corner and is going to have a lot of work to do. I think Sean Hayes is going to have this spot and maybe able to pull Brew up to some of the cars ahead of them. Camden Hibbett makes a move down the front straightaway, gets it done before the braking zone, and is back into the lead, but not before Josh Soto can lead a lap and get a bonus point.
Yeah, looking at my timing tower, I'm pretty sure they were side by side down the entire front straightaway there, and it looked like Camden finally got the edge going into turn number 1, but Joshua Soto still hounding his rear bumper as Mitchell Peak starting to fall behind just a little, and Ronnie Coates starting to close the gap up to them. It was 1.8 seconds, I believe, about a lap ago. Now it's down to 1.4 as we're looking at John Casey right now in the 21 car. Now back up to the leaders is Joshua Soto, still trying to do his best to just hang on to Camden Hibbett. We know how fast this driver is in the Miatas. He's been a little bit inactive this season of the Spec-5 World Tour, but making an appearance in the final race of the season and no doubt doing it in a strong way.
We see there, I think he just got a slowdown. I was going to say it looked like Josh Soto is using that track there a lot more than other drivers. Took a little bit too much liberty with that inside curb and had to back out of it, stomp on the brake real quick to serve that slowdown. And now he's going to start feeling the pressure from Ronnie Coates, who's always a really cagey driver and will catch you when you least suspect it.
Well, just as I compliment his late season appearance with a strong showing, he gets a slowdown and now has to play catch up to get to Mitchell Peak again. So I apologize. I reckon I had some interference there on my own. But Mitchell Peak currently in a good spot to take the lead here if he wants to. Although I wouldn't think that Mitchell would maybe make a risky move for the lead if he doesn't have to. You see how early he breaks there compared to Camden Hibbett. He'll get a nice run through 1 and 2. But, I mean, when you're Mitchell Peak in this situation, you don't even really have to race for the lead this hard. I mean, yeah, if it's the last lap, you're going to race for the win. But in this spot right now, Mitchell Peak can just sit pretty and just hang out for about 38 minutes, and he'll still end up being champion, no matter what Camden or Ronnie Coates does.
You don't ever want to let your guard down, so if he can sneak a chance to get a bonus point for leading a lap, you can bet Mitchell Peak will take it, just to make sure that gap's as big as possible. You see he's going to show his nose here, coming down the mid-straight, and going to make the move on Camden and get it done. We've seen Camden lose a spot there a couple times. I think Camden's playing the long game here and trying to judge his runs for the end of the race, and Casey finds himself in second. Not really defending very hard to keep that lead and setting up to come out of that last corner with a nice run to try to drag race to the line. So he's going to be well practiced in when to make that move come to the end of the race if he finds himself not in the lead.
Yeah, and I mean, it's just a massive game of chess going on. I'm pretty sure we compared it to that last week as well, but that's just what... Oh, wait, no, that was on the XSLR stream last Sunday, but this race right now is just a massive game of just chess. It's just a lot of logic going into it, a lot of careful driving, a lot of thinking. Is Camden Hibbett going to let Mitchell Peak get a bonus point for leading a lap? There's Joshua Soto with the fastest lap of the race. That beats pole time, I think, with a 1:47.35, likely because of the draft, but I mean, Camden he needs to get back to the lead, and he needs to start leading more laps, because Mitchell Peak with the bonus point there for leading a singular lap is going to make Camden's life a lot harder in this race.
So Camden, having qualified on pole, got a bonus point for that, and having led a lap, got a bonus point. So that means Mitchell Peak had to finish in 11th or higher. Now that Mitchell's got a bonus point, he just has to finish in 12th or higher. So Camden Hibbett definitely is going to be interested in leading the most laps, and they're all going to be very interested in staying clean to try to get that 3 bonus points for a 0x race. That might be why we see some of them being a little passive and not being super staunch on their defense. Just I'll say, okay, go ahead, take the spot. I'll get it right back with the next slipstream. That way we all keep a 0x, and those bonus points can really stack up.
Almost 2x2 with that field of drivers through that little complex of S's there in the infield as they head back onto the oval. Camden Hibbett leads the way as Joshua Soto and Ronnie Coates have closed this gap up to these drivers. So they originally fallen back by over a second, but now they are up here and back racing for the lead, and they've taken Scott Keane and Ray Lombardi with them. So it's a 6-car main pack at the moment, the next car behind them being Rui Coimbra, who really just has not been on his best game all season long. He's definitely showed up and he's definitely raced, but just not been able to get the results he would have wanted in that car.
I think the recent changes to the car have not favored Rui Coimbra. He's going to have to adapt at some point. I expect over the next season we'll see him back towards the sharp end of the field. We see Josh Soto definitely playing a little bit of head games there with Mitchell Peak, showing the nose, making him think maybe I'm going to go for the move, and then pulling back in line at the last second. He did close that gap up to them very quickly. So Josh Soto still has the pace that he had last season. And he managed to pull Ronnie Coates up into this fight. And with them, Scott Keane, and hanging on there at the back, like you mentioned, Ray Lombardi. So this could develop into a 6-way fight for the lead, especially with the pit stops.
And the interesting thing, or the thing that could make this interesting, is that now that I think about it, Joshua Soto, I think this might be the only race he showed up to all season. He has nothing to lose from being here. He's basically just racing for fun. And now everybody else around him, the 2 cars in front of him and Ronnie Coates behind him, have everything to lose because they are racing for a championship. So you could see an aggressive move from Joshua Soto because he wants to just try and get a win. And he could take out one of the championship contenders in an aggressive move simply because he has nothing to lose. But now we're looking at a wreck from Kenneth Staub.
We see it on the short straightaway in the middle of the lap coming through the infield section. He's going to be getting on the brakes really heavy here. I'm going to guess he just overshoots it quite a bit. Just a little too much speed coming in there. Gets a little too much slip angle on those rear tires, loses grip, and spins it around. Doesn't take anybody else with him, gets it pointed back in the right direction, and carries on.
Yeah, as he's currently hanging out there in 13th, right behind David Staub, the 2 Staubs that do race these cars in real life, currently 12th and 13th respectively. But up towards the lead, Joshua Soto has been trying to make a move around Camden Hibbett. He got around Mitchell Peak there, and I mean, you can really see that Mitchell Peak is just playing this super safe right now. You can see with how early he's been breaking into turn 1. And meanwhile, Camden, Joshua Soto, and Ronnie Coates, and everybody else in this pack have been sending it in as hard as they can, trying to just get any sort of edge. Meanwhile, Mitchell Peak is just basically out here for a joyride, just trying to keep that car clean. I mean, and in this situation with Ronnie Coates going for a move on him, I'd say just let him have the spot. There's no reason in not letting him have the spot, and it looks like that is what is going to happen. As long as Mitchell Peak remains in this front pack, there's nothing Camden Hibbett or Ronnie Coates can do.
And Josh Soto, I got to hand it to Josh Soto here. He's being very respectful. Like you said, he doesn't have anything to lose. He can come out here, elbows out, and just start pushing his way to the front to take command of this race. And he saw him back off a little bit early. He knew he wasn't going to have an established position alongside Camden Hibbett going into that first corner. So he backed off a little bit and made sure that everybody got through there cleanly without getting any car contacts. So big props to Josh Soto for being a nice, clean racer when he doesn't even need to be.
Yeah, it's always something you love to see is just racecraft and awareness from a driver that is so strong that they just don't even race the other cars that are racing for a championship. It's definitely something I would want if I was in a championship fight and there was a non-championship contending car racing with me. But Ronnie Coates pushing Soto towards the first corner now. It's a braking contest into turn number 1. Joshua Soto going to retake the lead as Ronnie Coates now making a move for second. Around the outside, he'll have the inside into turn number 3. And it looks like he will get that spot as they head towards turn number 4. Camden is going to have to settle for third once again.
And I'm going to also give a shout out to Camden Hibbett. He's showing a lot of maturity for a driver his age, knowing when to back out, when discretion is the better part of valor. And that's why he's finding himself up here at the front at the end of all these races. He's a very smart driver. So, yeah, it's surprising to see some of the younger drivers being able to have such level heads like this. I'm an older driver, and I can't keep a level head that well sometimes.
Yeah, it's always a great thing when you see an up-and-coming driver that pretty much just drives with no mistakes at all. And it looks like Adam isn't happy with some repetitiveness from you, Randall, as he's used our overlays to tell us, or pretty much to tell you, to come up with new sayings. So do with that what you will, but Randall, me personally, I am not going to take that. Oh, very loose was Josh Soto.
Very, very loose there. It looked like maybe he hits the curb with the rear end and had it step around just a little bit, or maybe got it too much with the front end, overloaded that front end, and had a bit of oversteer. Really good hands there to keep it going, and he didn't really lose much pace, so he's able to keep this lead. It doesn't look like Camden Hibbett is too terribly interested. Maybe going to show his nose here. We'll see. I think he's just going to play the long game. Camden needs to get up there and lead some laps, though. He needs to lead the most laps to have a shot, to have the best shot here. We see they're stacking up a little bit, a bit of a checkup. Ronnie Coates almost got in the back of him. This first corner braking zone, very tricky to judge, especially in traffic.
Yeah, definitely is. I mean, especially in pretty much any first corner, you're always trying to get the biggest edge you can. And I mean, that's just, it comes into a much bigger picture with tracks like, or pretty much with turn one on all manner of tracks, like Interlagos last week, Indy this week, the Daytona Road Course, Bahrain out in the Middle East. Turn one is so important just because of how much you have to slow down in such a short amount of time. And when you're racing with other people at such a high caliber, it can just be so disorienting in that moment that you just completely forget to brake, and all of a sudden you're Ross Chastaning it trying to take the access road to shortcut turn one. So I mean, it's such a balancing act to just try and go fast, but save the car at the same time.
It seems like Adam's PC has gotten into the drink a little bit early, and we're having some issues. But we're seeing here Josh Soto and Camden Hibbett going side by side there again into the moto loop. Going to give Ronnie Coates a shot here, maybe at taking second place away. Mitchell Peak back there still lurking, also holding on back there. Scott Keane playing the patient game, maybe saving a lot of fuel here. He could jump a couple spots here in the pit stop, or if they pit early, he can get some of that track position off the slipstream.
Yeah, and that's just, looks like a little bit of fanning out there as Ronnie Coates thought about trying something, and look at how early, I know you couldn't really see it that well from there, but look at how early Mitchell Peak just hit the brakes. I mean, the car behind him, I believe, Scott Keane in the 271 car, slammed on his brakes, just being unprepared for Mitchell to brake that early, because Mitchell knows that he really doesn't even have to be racing these guys right now. He could be pretty much falling out of this pack and just vibing in the pack with Rui Coimbra and Alexander Searle. He doesn't need to be up here. He's just up here just pretty much just because. And now he's going to even make a move on Camden Hibbett. So honestly, if I were him, I wouldn't be doing this right now. I'd just be trying to save the car. But Ray Lombardi going to do the same thing on Scott Keane behind him. Ray Lombardi makes the move easily, but it's not going to be an easy fight for Mitchell Peak. He'll have to stay in fourth for now. Is Camden Hibbett going to maintain third place?
I think Camden just dodged a bullet there. He had a tricky first sector and found himself dropping like a stone and fell under pressure from Mitchell Peak. And then Ray Lombardi, showing his nose in there, made Mitchell have to second guess taking that apex, and gave Camden that free pass, and now is able to run away in third. It looks like maybe he's having a little bit of connection issues, so that could be causing him to have issues finding his marks if suddenly he finds the game stuttering and doing things like that. So hopefully that all shakes itself out and he can get back into this fight for the lead.
Yeah, and now as they head down the front straightaway, they're about, I want to say, maybe 3 minutes away from the halfway point, maybe about 3.5, which would, the halfway point is going to be 22.5 minutes in. So as Scott Keane into the pits, that brings up the question, as a 3 wide into turn 1, they're going to try it. Camden Hibbett to the inside. Ronnie Coates is going to take it. No, he goes a little bit wide. Joshua Soto tries to get a cutback. Not going to work. Ronnie Coates missed the corner but takes the lead. as Cam and Hibbett going to have to settle for second. Now we'll go to the inside in turn 4. These are the two championship contenders that need all the spots they can get over the drivers around them, and Joshua Soto with a very big mistake there falls back to 6th behind Rui Coimbra, who has now entered the fray as Rui is now in draft range of this field. So it could very well become a 7-car race for the lead as Ray Lombardi is spectating this amazing battle in front of him. But back to what I briefly mentioned earlier, as they go side by side again, when do these drivers come into the pits? And Randall, I think it's about that time. You want to give us your wrong pit call of the week, Adam? You gotta eventually give us like a whole segment transition on SDK for that.
Yeah. So it's a tough call. If you're leading, it's going to be very, very difficult to want to come into the pit lane, especially if you're one of these championship contenders, getting those bonus points out there and trying to lead as many laps as possible. If you're in the lead, what you're really hoping is that the other cars pit behind you, and you're not going to be giving them the benefit of your slipstream, and you can stay out there until the tank is dry and lead as many laps as possible to try to get the most laps led. And right now, Ronnie Coates is going to probably have this lap. They're going to have a bit of a drag race to the line. It's going to be interesting to see who gets there first. It looks like it's going to be Ronnie by a nose. And no, it was Camden Hibbett. Just barely got
No, it was
ahead
Ronnie.
there.
You were right. It was Ronnie by 1,000th.
Oh, it was Ronnie by 1,000th. Okay. So it was very, very close. Camden is going to be in a really good position to take that win if he finds himself in P2 at the end of the race. But what do I say every week when I don't know what to say about the pit strategy? Do what Ronnie Coates does.
Yeah, it looked like Adam tried to give us a little bit of a segment there. He used the SDK chat on the overlays to give us the notion that it was Randall's wrong pit calls, and then also gave your main point to the viewers that you pretty much every week believe to just do whatever Ronnie Coates does. And honestly, I don't blame you. He's the master of pit strategy in this series. Every time you see him pit at the same lap as everybody else, he always somehow finds a way to end up 2 seconds ahead of everybody else. So definitely knows what he's doing in terms of the pit lane, and that is a very important skill to master. So it's great that he has managed to do that. But Cameron Hibbett takes the lead once more as they head back through oval at turn 2, as it looks like it actually has become an 8-car race for the lead, judging off the timing tower. It's a bit more spread out in the back, but there are 8 cars within striking distance of the leaders. There goes Mitchell Peak into the pits. Looks like he'll be going in all by his lonesome there, which doesn't even really matter. I mean, as long as he just maintains decent time, he'll be in a good spot. But Andersen with Bruce Silva, it looks like.
It's like he gets a little bit wide there, just touches the grass, and the weight of the car is still all the way over there on those left side tires, and that causes him to spin. Ronnie Coates showing his nose, going to make the inside move, going into turn 1, try to get this lead back. They're really fighting for this lead to see who's going to lead the most laps. And I think Camden Hibbett has the edge in that department right now. But Rui Coimbra, they're lurking in 3rd place. He's managed to make up a lot of track position by people pitting in front of him.
No,
and just as we mentioned it, comes through turns 4. The entry to turn 4 just probably got in there a little bit too hot. It's a very tricky corner. You're never in a straight line to get a good braking opportunity. It's easy to overbrake and spin that car around, and it looks like that might be exactly what happened here. He's offline, so he's probably picking up a little bit of marbles and gets out there onto the grass just a little bit, just too much of that curb, and sends him around. And as a big lick there from was that the 5-car possibly? So yeah, the 5 car is going to have a bit of damage. It doesn't look like it on here, so maybe it was the wrong car. But that was a pretty heavy lick. Yes, it was the 5 car. You see him sliding, and there's nowhere he can go. He's basically a passenger. He's already committed to the line through there. There's not much you can do to correct it. And we see Rui Coimbra now in the pits.
So, Randall, I think we're even on that as Camden Hibbett into the pits now. Joshua Soto follows him, as it looks like those will be these 2 cars into the pit lane this lap. But Randall, I think we're both even on this one in terms of commentators' curses. I got Joshua Soto on one, and you just got Rui Coimbra on an even bigger one there. I'm not gonna lie to you. I apologize for the minor interruption. That just sucks. I mean, it's the best run he's had all season. Just an unfortunate mistake into turn 3. barely clips the grass, and now the drivers that he was racing with just a lap ago are going to pass him on route for their green flag pit stop. It's just so unfortunate.
And we see Ronnie Coates stays out. I suspect that he's going to stay out until the absolute last moment and try to get as many of those laps led. Of course, he's going to have to deal with Ray Lombardi. There's a bit of a gap there, 2.25 seconds, but that could easily close up with the slipstream. I'll also be surprised if we see anybody take any tires during this pit stop. The cold tire penalty is not as big as it was last season, or last build, I should say. But the nature of this course, the cold tires is just such a penalty. I really suspect we won't see many people taking those 2 free tires on the pit stop. You see Josh Soto manages to get the spot. Soto gets the spot away from Camden Hibbett coming out of the pit lane. And Mitchell Peak has quite a gap over them now.
Yes, I mean, that was probably a really clean pit stop for Mitchell Peak. It looked like Scott Keane got a really good one as well, as he separates Mitchell Peak, Camden Hibbett, and Joshua Soto now as they head down the infield back straightaway. So great stop from Mitchell Peak. It looked like he did not get to as far out as he would have probably liked theirs. Ronnie Coates into the pits, probably for the last opportunity, but Ray Lombardi going to choose to stay out another time. Alexander Searle, Nicky Borovic, and Sean Hayes are other drivers entering the pit lane, as Mitchell probably would have liked a better gap, but now he has a major advantage over at least one of his championship rivals now. He's gotten in front of Camden Hibbett, and at this point, no matter what Camden does, this is going the way of Mitchell Peak. So, I mean, Camden just has to hope for a miracle at this point, because it doesn't look like that 56 car is going to make a mistake.
And we see Ronnie Coates going up onto the jack stands, proving me wrong once again. He's going to take those 2 free tires. Not seeing anybody else do it, though, so he could be off strategy compared to everybody else. Nope, there goes Sean Hayes taking those 2 tires. And Ronnie Coates pulls out. We're going to see where he comes out in front of Mitchell Peak. I think Mitchell is going to get this. It's a very, very long pit lane. It's agonizingly slow, and that cone is way past the wall, so you have to stay on the pit limiter even longer than you think, as we see Scott Keane now making a move for the provisional lead. But no, Ronnie Coates has gotten clear by a country mile and has a huge gap. So now he's going to need to click off laps, get those laps led, and he's going to be in a good position if something happens to Mitchell Peak to have this championship.
What can we say? He's the pit strategy master. The only thing I wonder is he could have underfueled there. That was a very short pit stop compared to everybody else. It allowed him to get 4 seconds ahead of the rest of the field. There he is in frame now, is Mitchell Peak getting passed by Joshua Soto. They went 2x2 into turn 1. They almost go 2x2 into the corner off the infield back straightaway, as Mitchell Peak backed out of that super early, just trying to preserve that car. As, I mean, with the pit cycle still incomplete, Mitchell Peak still technically has the championship under wraps. So, I mean, Camden Hibbett and Ronnie Coates, try as they might, I mean, it's just still going the way of Mitchell Peak right now. And one car that is still on the racetrack, and, I mean, he didn't even pit that lap. Ray Lombardi is just out there running solo laps by himself, trying to go as fast as possible to try and probably put the least amount of fuel in the car, maybe try and do what Ronnie Coates did to just get a nice gap from the cars behind you and just sit there for the rest of the race running hot laps. So very bold choice from Ray Lombardi, trying to get his first ever overall win.
So for the pit stop time, Ronnie Coates sat stationary for 18 and 2/3 seconds. Mitchell Peak sat stationary for 17.3 seconds. So a 1.3 second difference. That could be the tires, but that would lead me to think that Ronnie Coates is going to be good on fuel. And if anybody's going to be guessing, it's going to be Mitchell Peak. Nicky Borovic was even faster, stopped for only 16.3 seconds. And Charles Vaccaro, after that early incident, has managed to save some fuel. He was stopped for only 15.98 seconds. So you can save some fuel here. And I suspect some of these drivers, like Ronnie Coates, that weren't necessarily fighting for the lead for the first 20 minutes or so, were able to save some of that fuel. We saw Ronnie get his elbows out there towards the end before the pit stop, but he did sit back there a while and play it pretty cautious for the first 15, 20 minutes of the race.
Oh, that is not something I expected. I assumed that Ronnie's pit stop would have been a lot shorter than everybody else's, but it turns out he had one of the longest of the field as more cars into the pits. Wow. I'm bad at the English language. I should learn a different language to speak something different. But both of these stops into the pit lane, Jerry DiPiero is in the pit lane as well. Ray Lombardi still elects to stay out. Oh, Scott Keane had a big moment there off of that corner. Touched the grass with the right rear a little bit, got super sideways, and now Mitchell Peak is going to have to work with him to catch back up. Paulo Coimbra into the pits as well. But, I mean, it's just... Ray Lombardi, I mean, I'm just not sure what the strategy call is. His last lap times have been pretty solid. But I'm not sure if he's going to be able to hold this lead when he pits. I mean, he ran a 141.8 last time by, and compared it to what I believe Ronnie Coates ran last time by was a 141.8. So they're about even on lap time. So honestly, Ray Lombardi is a decent shot at this if he can just manage to get that pit stop to be a lot shorter from not having pit as late. So now he will head into the pits as Ray Lombardi now going to make his required pit stop of the day as the leaders heading through the infield S's now. As Camden Hibbett still under pressure from Joshua Soto behind him, but I think Camden Hibbett has actually been catching up to Ronnie Coates a little bit, so Camden's been probably pushing this car as Ray Lombardi heading down the agonizingly slow pit lane. Hasn't even reached his stall yet as Ronnie Coates is breaking into this chicane as Ray Lombardi still not even in his pit stall at the moment. Looks like he's heading to a stop just about now. So, stationary in the pit lane is Ray Lombardi. Ronnie Coates full throttle out of the chicane. He's on the front straightaway. We'll have to see how short Ray Lombardi's pit stop is. There he is. You can see him in frame there as racing down the front stretch as fast as he can. Ray Lombardi's out of his stall. He's heading towards the pit lane, but it's just so slow compared to how fast Ronnie Coates is going. Ray Lombardi might be able to stay with the leaders, but he's not going to get the overall lead. Now he's able to release the limiter, and it looks like he's going to have to settle for, I believe, fourth right now as he heads across the blue cone for the pit lane exit. So still a great job from Ray Lombardi to end up in fourth, but it is not likely where he would have wanted. And all the while, this is playing perfectly into Mitchell Peak's hand. Mitchell is just not having to do any work right now, just has to keep that car clean, and just no matter what Camden Hibbett or Ronnie Coates do, this is going to go the way of Mitchell Peak.
We see right now, Ronnie Coates, that gap is down to about 3 seconds. It was 4.1, 4.2 seconds. I don't know if you saw it the last time they came down the front straightaway, the past couple laps. Josh Soto has been leaning on that back bumper of Camden Hibbett, pushing with all of his might. They're bump drafting, trying to close that gap up. Josh Soto still thinks he has a shot to win this, and he's doing it by pushing Camden Hibbett up there. So Camden getting a helping hand from Josh Soto. Do they have enough time to close this gap, though? 12 minutes left in the race. It's going to be tough.
Yeah, and I don't know. They were doing a decent job, I thought, before Ray Lombardi.
Big moment there. Sorry, Alex. Big moment there for Ronnie Coates. He manages to catch it. That's going to help close up the gap some. We'll see it pay itself out at the end of the straightaway, but that was a big slide and a lucky catch by Ronnie Coates.
Yeah, I saw that. That was heading through the chicane, and if we're looking at lap times, Camden Hibbett, I mean, that time he barely made a dent in Ronnie Coates' gap, but on lap 17 and 18, he knocked a good half second out of that gap. Or, if you add those two together, he knocked a good full second out of the gap. So that's what I was saying, when they exited the pits, it was about a 4-second gap to the lead. Now it's sitting at about just under 3 seconds from Camden Hibbett to Ronnie Coates. So if Camden just can turn on the afterburners and start to fly here using Joshua Soto as help, these two could possibly catch up to Ronnie Coates, especially with their advantage down these straights.
They only need to close about half of what it is now to really start picking up that slipstream and closing it even faster. We saw there in the first sector alone, 2.3 tenths there for Hibbett, and that is mostly because of Coates' slide there out of the penultimate corner, killing his run down the straightaway. But then even in Sector 2, there's another 10th gone, so they are slowly tearing that lead down. I think we're going to have ourselves a three-way fight here at the end.
Yes, Camden slowly knocking out more and more time out of that gap through the first three sectors. Just cannot mess it up in this final one. Joshua Soto ate the curb there, but it looks like still a fast corner for him. They just need a nice exit down this straight, and then Soto needs to push Hibbett down this front straightaway so they can just maximize time gained as they head towards the start-finish line. We'll see what the split is at the line as Ronnie Coates is across. Now these two are across. It was a 141.2 for Coates, and it looked like it was a sub 141 for Camden Hibbett. So these two are on the way. As you can see, Joshua Soto pushing Hibbett down these straights, letting him have the room to break. These two are coming.
Right now, it looks like Ronnie Coates the faster one out of the final sector of the track, but if Hibbett can get up there, we've seen him make that move 3 or 4 times this race, so he's already well practiced in it and knows how to time it. He just has to get that good run out of that very slow left-hander before they get back onto the oval in order to make it happen. Right now, Mitchell Peak sitting pretty in 6th place, easily going to have the championship in hand if he finishes right here in 6th. And he's got a couple spots in front of him that he can pick up in the form of Scott Keane and Ray Lombardi.
Yeah, and I mean, he doesn't even really need those points right now. He just needs to sit here in 6th, just sit pretty, and I mean, that's just what he's been doing all race. He hasn't been really pushing the car. He's kept it out of dangerous situations, and he's just been being consistent, being calm, just being smooth, and it seemed to be working so far. He's only got about 9 minutes to go before the checkered flag, so, I mean, I honestly think just no mistakes from Mitchell Peak, and he will end up with the championship at the end of the day, even if it isn't the win.
And we've seen a lot of different sides of Mitchell Peak over the seasons, the past few seasons here in the Spec-5 World Tour. We've seen him in an absolute dogfight for position on the points table and trying to get up to the lead and having to fight his way through traffic and being really aggressive. And now we see him at the top, being smart, playing very defensive, keeping the car clean, and just riding around and getting the finish that he needs. So a really good effort by Mitchell Peak over the past few seasons to adapt to the different situations and drive like you need to drive. It hasn't always worked in his favor, but it's finally Mitchell Peak's time to shine.
Yeah, and he's shining in a big way right now, just praying for just any stroke of good luck, and he's been given a lot of good luck today as Ronnie Coates just trying to do his best to just keep away from Camden Hibbett, but Camden is just doing a pretty decent job. I mean, he's just been so consistent over the last couple of laps, knocking out easily 3/10 every lap, so at this rate, I think in about 3 laps time, they'll be about 1 second back, which will get them in draft range. So really about 4 laps at this pace, and Camden Hibbett will be right on Ronnie Coates' back bumper.
And I think we only have about 5 laps left, so watch out. This white flag could get a little crazy.
Yeah, it definitely is. Camden got a really nice run through that chicane, already got the gap under 2 seconds. He'll have more help from Joshua Soto down this front straightaway as Ronnie Coates trying to break this draft a little bit down this front straightaway is back up towards the wall as they head towards turn number 1. Joshua Soto just set the fastest lap of the race by over 2/10 with a 1:45.54. Camden Hibbett ran a 1:47.09 compared to Ronnie Coates' 1:41.3. So these two drivers putting down some insane laps right now to catch up.
You heard me say it before that sometimes whenever you need to get a run on somebody, whenever you go into a tight corner, you don't want to be right on their bumper. You want to give a little bit of space, and that's exactly what happened there. Josh Olson gave a couple car lengths of space to make sure that he got a good run out of that corner, and then was able to use that slipstream to close that gap back up. And we've been seeing him set purple laps nearly every lap following Camden Hibbett, and helping push him up to Ronnie Coates. That gap is pretty much gone. This time, at the end of the front straightaway, Camden Hibbett is going to be filling that mirror. So we're on for a nice race here. The last 5 minutes, it's going to be a three-way fight.
Yes, through oval turn 2 and into the chicane they come. Camden Hibbett just needs a good set of corners again and maybe a little bit of help from Joshua Soto down this front straightaway, and they will be completely within a drafting range. It looked like Ronnie got a very good run out of that corner, but Camden still with a better exit, trying to maximize exit speed down these straights. Is Joshua Soto going to be able to help a little bit with the slipstream run? But Camden Hibbett well into drafting ranges. The gap not closing as much as if he were Soto's range to him, but still the gap definitely closing now as they head down the front straightaway. Camden going to be late on the brakes here, going to be pushing it as hard as he can into turn number 1. I thought he was going to miss that corner there, barely gets the outside curbing. Ronnie Coates gets a better run on the exit there, but still making up time. Camden Hibbett doing all he can to catch up to Ronnie Coates. Last lap, he set his new fastest lap with a 1:46.64, again compared to Ronnie Coates' 1:41.3s that he's been consistently running. So not much that Ronnie Coates can do, but just wait for these drivers to catch up to him and try and prepare for a counterattack. I believe it's going to be 2 to go at the line.
We were riding on board there with Hibbett, and you saw him giving a lot of corrections right at the apex of corners, which means he is on the absolute limit. He is finding every tenth this car has right now. We saw him going through the penultimate corner in second gear, and I think everybody else is taking it in first gear possibly. So that might be why he's a little bit slow off of the apex, but then by the end of the straightaway, he seems to have a lot more speed. So he might know something these other guys don't know, but he is absolutely riding the ragged edge on that car right now.
Yeah, well within a second's range now, so Camden is going to have the run down this straightaway to maybe make a move into turn 1, and if not, he can definitely make one into the 90-degree corner off the infield backstretch. So down turn 1 they come, and they're going to take 2 to go this time by 2 laps left in the season. The championship may already be decided, but there are still drivers out here on the limit. Joshua Soto sets the fastest lap again with a 1:40.3. That is 0.5 faster than the pole lap. These drivers are pushing.
And you gotta wonder, is Josh Soto gonna sit here and spectate this fight for the win, or is he gonna throw the gloves out the window and get up there in the fight himself? We know that he knows how to win races. We know that he knows how to make moves. He can do it cleanly. He can easily win this race. Now, it's just a matter, does he want to play spoiler or not? Right now, neither one of them is really going to have a chance to win the championship. So they're fighting for P2 on the points championship. Josh Soto could spoil that fight even. So does he sit back here and spectate, or does he get involved?
Even Adam's excited from the virtual production truck, and I would say if I'm Joshua Soto, I'm just going to go for it. I mean, these two championship contenders don't really got something to lose, so that's also another question. That's also something else that our producer just mentioned. Joshua Soto just lost a lot of time from what I could tell, no reason, and he's not losing it consistently, so I think maybe a major mistake. I don't think he's out of gas, which is what our producer just mentioned. So I think Joshua Soto's been pushing it so much that he just can't anymore, but a white flag at the line. 2 of the championship rivals are going to duke it out for the win.
Josh Soto had a big squeeze of the brake there. I think he's just letting these two fight. He's just going to watch and keep out of this fight. So here we go. Camden Hibbett leaning on Ronnie Coates going into turn 1. He's not going to make the move now. He's going to wait. He's definitely pressing R2 to intimidate, going down the front straightaway, and going to maybe set it up here on the back straight through the infield section. He's definitely right there in position. Here we go. This could be the move for the race. As we see a car off the outside, hopefully they don't get distracted. Pull back in. I believe that was Rui Coimbra. No, sorry, that was Paulo Coimbra. And here we go.
Down the Down the infield back straightaway. This is going to be Camden Hibbett's best opportunity. He's well within range for a run. He's going to put it onto the gray part of the racing surface. Coach is going to hold him down. Now he moves back up. Ronnie will get a better run through this corner onto the brakes. Into this corner for the final time. Camden Hibbett going to take the lead. He's very loose off the corner. Ronnie Coach still right on his back bumper as they head through the S's for the final time. This race and the final time this season, Ronnie Coates going to have to make a bonsai move if he wants to pull this off. So far, Camden Hibbett with the advantage. Don't count out that number 31 car, though. Closing that gap as they head towards the chicane for the final time. Onto the brakes. Ronnie Coates with the send, trying to get a good run through. Ronnie's going to need a good run on the exit here if he wants any shot. Sends it in. I don't think he's going to get there. He gets the run off the corner, but through the final corner of the season, towards the start-finish line, it looks like it is going to be Camden Hibbett, but the bigger story is the man 7 seconds behind him. Out of the final corner, Mitchell Peak is your Season 11 Spec-5 World Tour champion.
What a finish there at the end. Absolutely clinical move from Camden Hibbett to not make the pass in turn one and wait until the backstretch. This kid's going to go places. Watch out in the next 5 or 6 years. You're going to see Camden Hibbett in a real car somewhere making waves.
Absolutely right about that. I mean, he's just so fast, so smart. And I mean, a lot of drivers, they'd be impatient there and just try and make the move down that front straightaway, which Camden totally could have done. He had the run. He was close enough. He could have made that move into turn number 1, but chose to let Ronnie hold it for a little bit and take the lead in a spot where he knows that Ronnie is not going to have a shot at taking it back. Such a veteran driver move, and it's awesome to see a young driver like Camden Hibbett pull that off. It's absolutely incredible for somebody his age to be that talented. Like you mentioned, Randall, he is definitely going places. Sean Hayes across the line in 7th, your open class champion and the winner of the race as well to boot. So it looks like Rui Coimbra going to take the oval a little bit there as the rest of the field heads across the line. Here is Sean Hayes, the open class champion, as now we look at John Casey, who is just heading across the line at the moment. Jerry DiPiero a couple seconds behind him, but just what a race to finish off the season.
Yeah, tough luck for Rui Coimbra there, coming home in 15th. His race was going so good until suddenly it wasn't. One little bit of a mistake and drops him back to 15th. Hopefully we see him back up towards the front of the field. I love watching Rui Coimbra make moves for wins, so it'll be interesting and very exciting to see him back up front again next season.
Your results for the final race of Season 11 at the Indianapolis Road Course. Camden Hibbett makes the perfect move on the final lap to beat Ronnie Coates in 2nd. Joshua Soto lets them race and ends up in 3rd on the podium. Mitchell Peak is there in 4th. Scott Keen in 5th. I just glossed over Mitchell Peak like he didn't even win the championship. Mitchell Peak only had to finish 12th to win the race, but he still managed to top 5 in the final race of the season. That, my friends, is your pro class champion in Season 11 of the Spec-5 World Tour. Props to him. Did such an amazing job this season. Definitely deserves it behind the wheel of that 56 car. Scott Keen in 5th. Ray Lombardi gets, I believe, his best result of the season in there in 6th. Sean Hayes locked up the championship for the open class last race, but still gets another open class win just to add to his tally before he moves up to the pro class there in 7th. Nicky Borovic is in P8, David Staub in 9th, Tom Athan in 10th, Alexander Searle in 11th, Bruce Silva in 12th, Kenneth Staub in 13th, Charles Vaccaro in 14th, Rui Coimbra in 15th, Josh Olson in 16th, Andrew Kosick in 17th, Greg Mack in 18th, and behind them, John Casey in 19th, Jerry DiPiero in 20th, Paulo Coimbra in 21st, Michael Coates in 22nd, Greg Brockway, looks like he didn't start the race there, finished 23rd, but what a race to round off the season, and all manner of drivers I would expect to be in the interview waiting rooms, especially for the final race of the season.
Yeah, and I found for you, Alex, our race winner, Camden Hibbett.
Well, Camden, You might not have won the championship, but you got one more win to finish off the season. And I gotta say, you made it at the absolute perfect time there, not making the move at a spot where you knew Ronnie Coates was never going to be able to have a shot to get back to you. How's it feel? I know it might be a little bittersweet, but how's it feel?
It's awesome. I'm so glad. First of all, I need a huge congrats to Mitchell. Absolutely dominating season. He may not, I don't even know who got more wins, but overall he was way more consistent. So yeah, huge congrats to Mitchell. But yeah, it was an interesting race. I didn't think I was going to be able to get back to him. We were so far back. I think it was 4.5 seconds back, but he said he got a little bit tight. And I came on strong there at the end, and we were able to reel him back in. Hopefully have a good finish for the broadcast and you guys.
Oh, it was such an entertaining race from up here. We appreciate that. But, I mean, talk me through those last couple laps, because, I mean, like you said, it probably seemed pretty hopeless at the end there for you and Joshua Soto to catch back up to Mitchell Peak. But in just a matter of about 4 or 5 laps, y'all were out there running Joshua Soto set the fastest lap as a 1:43, 0.5 faster than pole lap. Your fastest lap was a 1:40.4, which is 0.4 faster than your pole lap. And I mean, just such an incredible display of driving from you. How was it behind the wheel?
It was awesome. I didn't even thank Joshua Soto for giving me all the pushing help there at the end. I certainly wouldn't have got back to him without the help from Josh there. But yeah, it was really just qualifying pace up until the last lap, and I was there. I knew I was going to make the move on the backstretch white flag lap. So it was just qualifying pace until I got there. Once I got there, ride there, and then make the move on the white flag. But it was a very interesting last couple laps. It was a swirl of emotions in the last half hour of that race.
Yes. Speaking of which, I mean, I wanna just hear your opinion on the move you made to take the lead on Ronnie Coates, because from what I was watching, and I think Randall said this too, from up here, you 100% could have made that move into one. I mean, you had the run, you were close enough, you had the draft, and you decided to wait until the corner after the infield backstretch. I thought it was because it wouldn't give Ronnie Coates a clear shot to take back the lead, but what was the real reason behind the wheel?
Well, I had tried multiple passes throughout the race, obviously on the front stretch and the back stretch, and I noticed nobody had gotten back around me until the front straightaway. So yeah, you're right. I just kind of thought that he wasn't going to be able to draft back past me on the front stretch. So I just kind of rode there and figured if I got clear of him entering the S's, I figured I was going to have a pretty good shot at hanging on to it through the rest of the race.
Yeah, you for sure hung on to it well behind the wheel of the number 32 car tonight. Anybody you want to thank before we let you go?
A couple people from my real life racing, Chris Nunes, my coach, David Cook, he's helped me a lot. Kevin King, huge partner emotionally, everything. Greg Vandersloot, another person that's helped me with coaching. Dan Williams actually put me in a Spec Miata a couple weeks ago in real life. My mom, my dad, my grandpa, the rest of my family, you guys, Greg Brockway, and then again Mitchell Peak and Sean Hayes on both of their pro and open class championships. Congrats to both of them as well.
All right, well, unless Randall or Adam has anything to say to you tonight, my friend, that is all I have for you. So congrats on the win at the Indianapolis Road Course. I mean, I can't say it enough. Great move there on the last. That was absolutely fantastic to watch, and good luck next season. I believe that starts in late January, so good luck there, and I hope to see you back up front again.
Hang on, whoa! I got something to say to Camden, man. Camden.
Hey, that's why I said go ahead.
Well, yeah, but then you kept talking, Alex. Anyways, Camden. Quick question for you, man. If you don't mind us asking, we know you're young. How old are you right now?
I'm 13.
You're 13 years old, and you're driving this quick in iRacing. Is there anything past this for you? Do you have any goals past beating everybody in a Miata league on iRacing?
Well, so I run Spec Miata now. I've run my first couple races now, and my end goal is something in racing. The sim thing was kind of a side thing just for fun. Now I'm spending way more time on it. Getting better and better every week. So yeah, we don't have a end goal right now. The goal is to get as far as I can behind the wheel in real life, and if that doesn't work out, see where the motorsports world takes me.
Well, Camden, whatever you decide to do, man, you got a whole bunch of life ahead of you. Thank you so much for making this season maybe one of the more interesting seasons Slow Motion Broadcasting has been able to produce and broadcast for the Spec-5 World Tour. So we hope to see you again, man, and congratulations.
Thanks, guys.
And that was your winner, Camden Hibbett. And before we pull the next interview in, I gotta say, this is like the second coming of the ghost of Elvis Rankin. We just got rid of one teenager that was whipping all the adults, and now we got to deal with Camden Hibbett. What's the heck's going on around here? What are they putting in the water?
I didn't. Wow, Camden, if you're watching this back and you're hearing me say this, you're going places. You are 100% going places, and I wish you the best of luck in whatever the hell you choose to do. So, I mean, congrats on everything you managed to do so far, and good luck for the future. But Randall, who are you on standby with next for our next interview?
I have our Pro Division champion, Mitchell Peak. Mitchell, what a season, dude.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, that was a good season. I know it was only 7 races, but the amount of talent that's in the field is incredibly tough. So to come away with the championship feels pretty darn good, not going to lie.
So you weren't necessarily up there in the fight for the lead at the end of the race, but all you had to do was keep it clean. Tell us, what was your mentality going into tonight's race?
So I had, I think, a 10 or 12 point lead in the season standings. So and I lost my drop in week 2, so I knew that I had to still place well today. So the mentality was qualify as close to the front as possible. Try to steal pole so that no one can take that away from me and steal a bonus point. But qualified P3, and then the mentality was, lap 1, keep your nose clean, get in line. I think I was 3rd by the end of lap 1, and then there was a little mini breakaway for about 4 or 5 laps. So the comfort level set in, and we were getting into rhythm. And then all of a sudden they were battling in front of me, and the whole pack caught right back up, and it was like, okay, just doesn't really matter. Let some guys go by. I pit because it was getting a little bit dicey out there, and then I lost the draft after the pit stop, but at that point I was still on 0x, and from then on it was just cruise on home and don't do anything too stupid in the last couple laps, and here we are now.
Well, it's been exceptionally fun watching you this season. Is there anybody you'd like to thank or shout out for your championship?
Well, first and foremost, I got to thank you guys on the broadcast team. You guys do a phenomenal job letting us watch the races back on Thursdays, and I know that you guys are growing as broadcasters. So, we just want to put on a good show for you guys, and we really appreciate everything that you put into it. Big shout out as well to all the drivers in the league and all the admins that helped to make it run so smoothly. Shout out to my biggest fan, Jason Bossy. And, of course, I should thank my family, my wife and my kids for letting me come down here and spend time nerding out with my boys.
So, next season is just around the corner. Is there anything you can clue us in on, maybe?
It's going to be a longer season. I think we've settled on a 13-week season. I don't want to give away too many details yet, but sneak peek, it's going to be 13 races long. I think we're going to have 3 drops in there. And I think there's going to be a couple surprises in there as well. So, you're just going to have to stay tuned to find out. It's a great series, and, we're always recruiting, so anyone that wants to check it out, it's Spec-5 World Tour on iRacing, so anyone that likes to drive these Miatas around the track, come and join us. We'd love to have you.
All right. Well, congratulations again on your championship, Mitchell, and hopefully we see you back up here in the booth more often next season with some wins and maybe another championship.
Right on. Thank you very much, guys. We'll see you next season.
That was your pro class champion, and Alex, I think we've found the Open Class champion, Sean Hayes, for you to talk to.
Yeah, and Sean, you locked up the Open Class Championship last week from Interlagos, but you tally up one more win to put on top of an already incredible season from yourself. How was it out there tonight?
It was good. There was the parking lot incident before I even crossed the start line. So I got 4x before I'd crossed the start line, and then my T1 spin just to handicap myself. So that was a little unfortunate. But yeah, I didn't want to. It's nice to have got so far and got so many points, etc. But I still wanted to come and play, and so it was good to be there. I was out of the draft most of the race. People were sliding off left, right, and centre. So I managed to make up spots mostly just by not getting hit and avoiding things, and then just staying smooth. I chip away, but without the draft, it was very difficult. Couple of pit stop cars helped me out, but then I think Nicky was slow. He was I think he was suffering with fuel, so I got past him, but then there was still no one ahead because again he'd had to slow down from his draft. So it was then just staying smooth. And all the practice laps that I put in were helped me. And I'm just to let you know, next week is my 14th birthday. No, I'm kidding.
What anniversary of your 14th birthday?
Exactly. It's a little bit more than that. But I'm a little bit older. But it's nice. It's amazing that I never thought I would get any good. I just enjoy playing, and so it's nice to reap a reward every now and then. And kudos to all the other drivers in the open class that were always there, just in case. So and I was never a clean, never, like I say, never always got a clean slate. So I can mistake myself out of it as I did last season. So I'm happy that I got this far, and good to be here.
Yeah, and I believe this is the first time we've been to the Indianapolis Road course in this series, and especially with the updates done to these Miatas. How was driving this car out here? Because to my knowledge, we've never been to this track in this series, or at least this layout. I'm not sure if y'all have been to the older Indianapolis Road course in the past, but we haven't been on this new layout, I don't think, and especially with the new updates to these cars that we've been getting the past couple of iRacing builds. How was it out there?
It was good as long as you're prepared. Like I said, the first lap or first couple of laps, there were people coming off just because it's there's a delicate dance you have to play, and I found that out with again my practice sessions. So it was, I wasn't mistake free, but gentle throttle, gentle steering just helped all the time, and the setup was a little tighter. So I felt it suited me a little more, so I could lean on it the way that felt comfortable for me. So I guess that helped me inch forward a little bit rather than one of the previous setups that we've had, where it's just been a little icy all the time. So it certainly worked for me, and I'm thankful for that.
Yeah, and it was a very good race from you. You definitely showed the preparedness to drive this car here tonight. And one thing I do want to ask, with the Open Class Championship secured, you're going to be moving up into the Pro Class next season. What are you thinking for that? Do you think you might try and do something there as well?
I'm gonna try. I chatted to Mitch real quick, and I said, it's nice to have some rabbits to chase, and I've also got to try and at least be as good as I have been. So there's always that pressure on myself, and not to sort of implode. But it's instead of I'll have to be fighting for positions rather than just sort of staying station as I have been in some cases throughout this season. But yeah, the quality is so high, so I'm probably gonna suffer a little bit.
I was gonna say, Sean, before Alex takes you back, those are some pretty fast rabbits, man. So Good luck.
Yeah, exactly.
Good luck
Yeah,
catching
yeah.
those. I mean, you could be a greyhound, and you still may have some issue catching some of those guys.
Very true. Very true. Yeah. Watch the lap times, and I'm still far enough away.
Oh, I'm not gonna lie. Adam said that even if you were a greyhound, you'd have some trouble. I just Googled what a greyhound was. At first, I got a movie, but then I see what the dog is now.
Right.
And then I also got the bus company. So,
Us, yeah.
with that out of the way, Sean, before we let you go, wow, I really can't speak the English language tonight. Anybody you want to thank before we let you go?
As always, you guys for putting on the broadcast and making it enjoyable to watch and review and share. The admins and anyone else that's involved in running the series. It's always good to have an efficient and regularly happening event and a good community to stay in touch with. And of course, my wife and daughter who always let me come down into the basement and have my moments of fun. And then listen to the stories, and as I go through the YouTube, frame by frame.
All right. Well, I'm sure they will appreciate that, and we do as well. So, congrats on the Open Class Championship.
Thank you.
Good
Appreciate
luck next season in the Pro Class. Hopefully, we'll see you up here once more. But other than that, have a good night, and congrats on the win and the championship.
Thanks. Take care.
And that was yet another young driver in this league, Sean Hayes, with the Open Class win and the championship. And I now have with us Ray Lombardi. This time, no needing for crystal balls, Ouija boards, or seances. Ray,
I got this. I want this one, Randall.
all right.
Let me have him. All right.
You can't steal it from him.
All right.
Come on.
All right, Ray. Here's the deal, man. What's going on out there? You won your Open Class last year, right? So
I believe so.
Why are you running into walls? And why are you not taking the fight to these guys in the Pro Class?
I beg to differ. At least this last race.
This wasn't terrible this last race, but you got a little bit of
It
help.
was not. Did I?
Yeah. How many people wrecked?
Well, I couldn't say because most of it was behind me. Except
All right, Ray.
Ruby.
Wow,
Ruby
Ray.
right in front of me.
Yeah, here we go. Ray, the big thing I wanted to ask you before I gave you to Randall, man, is you've become more of taking it on an admin role here in Spec-5, and really just the big question. I know we already interviewed Mitchell and kind of asked what was coming for next season, but I know there are a few things you guys are doing. Longer season and all that stuff. I would assume, I know TPC Motorsports that you guys see up there at the top right. Big shout out to them for all the help that they've given you guys. I'm not trying to take away your thunder, but yeah, man. Any kind of ideas for next season, and are you guys? What's your deal for sponsorships? Drivers trying to join the league, all that stuff.
Well, we're kind of shuffling it up a little bit. For the next season, they're going to be 13 races. We did a poll among the drivers, and everybody, well, most people wanted a season longer than 10, most 12, even some 15. So we decided on 13 with 3 drop weeks. And for the schedule of those 13 races, we decided to ask the drivers what they want. So we put out a poll on our Discord, and that poll's running now, and everybody can vote on any track they want. And the top 13 tracks that roll out of that, save a few, some admin picks, some sponsor picks, but most tracks will go to the voted track. So it's going to be a real drivers season next season.
So Randall, I think there may have been an option already thrown into that hat, if I'm not mistaken, right? Maybe a couple days ago, I think there may have been a sponsor that decided to maybe give you guys an idea.
Yeah,
I had a little birdie tell me that. Yeah, I think I heard that.
I'm not sure if I'm at liberty to say who that is, but
Ray, I just gotta say, there are 2 tracks that I want on the schedule next season. If they aren't there, I'm gonna riot. And by riot,
dear.
I mean I'm going to hit the armchair of my chair aggressively. All right, that's what I mean by riot. There are 2 tracks.
Nice to you, man.
2 tracks. 2 tracks. We gotta get Martinsville on there.
Oh no!
Gotta get Martinsville up
There
there.
we go.
And Monza combined, no chicanes. All right.
I agree with that one, man. The Monza combined.
Yeah.
Is sweet. I didn't even know it
I-
existed until a couple of weeks ago.
I run a league that runs about an hour before Spec-5 starts, and we run NASCAR stock cars. And last season, we ran the NASCAR Gen 6 Cup cars at Monza combined, no chicanes. I gotta say, it was one of the best races of the year. So
Yeah, was it?
it's one of the best tracks on the sim. Oh, and also Centripetal Circuit. That's got to be up there.
No, please God, no! Just
Gotta
stop,
be up there.
Alex. Just stop.
Just make it so the field has to run the outer 2 lanes. It'd be perfect.
Yeah. And for
All
like
right,
a
so
wall
take-
of MX-5s in the inner lane so they can't pass it.
Yeah, just take that into consideration.
All right.
I will, I will,
anyways,
I will.
why don't we get back on the track here, Randall? I'll let you have Ray here for the last bit of this interview before we close out the stream for the final time this season.
So I'm going to be Mr. Serious here, Ray.
Mr. Serious.
Mr. Serious. That's who I am. That's my middle name, Mr. Serious. So you stuck out there for a long time. You were the last pitter. Were you saving fuel during that first stint of the race?
Oh dear God, I was upshifting like mad the first half of the race. I figured, I was a couple seconds free from I think it was Rui, who was like 3 or 4 seconds behind me for a long time, and I figured, well, these guys in front of me are so much faster than normally. I'm just gonna stick. I'm gonna upshift. I'm gonna short shift. Sorry, and good luck to them. I'm gonna just get as many laps led as I could, and maybe actually do a super short pit stop. But Ronnie was too fast in the end for that to work, so I thought I might be able to steal the thing, but in the end, I'm pretty happy with how I handled this race compared to how I usually do these things, because my pit stops usually suck balls. So, I was just
that's
saving as much
trademark
fuel
Ray
as I
Lombardi Inc.
could. Yeah, it was. It's my old trademark. But I was just saving and just trying not to crash people who were actually for like into the championship race, because I was close to Mitch for a long time in this race. I didn't want to kill him.
So we also saw that you had a bit of an issue getting the car launching there. Was the clutch sticking on you? What happened there at the when you were pulling off the grid?
I was hoping you guys would edit that out.
No, I thought all the crashes were behind you, Ray. I thought they were all behind you.
Hey, I didn't crash. I didn't even start yet. I was actually typing something. I was wishing Mitch good luck in private chat, but I forgot to press the Y button, like the start chat, so I just was typing, and then I turned off my ignition.
Oh.
But I didn't realize. It took me like 10 seconds to realize what the hell had happened. So I think, I don't know, Coates or something was behind me. It was like, Ray's not starting. Like, oh shit. And I couldn't get it to start. Like, it was almost as if it didn't want to start anymore. It was like, it was coughing. Like, oh shit, did I kill it?
So we're going back right now to watch this. Just so everybody knows, anybody who's still watching the stream, we're gonna go ahead and watch Ray starting from the 4th row on the grid, just in case you guys. 3rd row.
Remember,
actually.
this is God making mistakes.
Yeah, got it. Okay.
God making a mistake. Yeah. Ray Lombardi showing that no good deed goes unpunished.
Absolutely
Trying to
not.
say good luck to a competitor on the grid. It kills the engine.
For a second, I was scared. Like, this was my best qualify by well, I think by far for my entire career here. I was like, oh really? I'm going to screw up my qualification like this. I was getting in my head, man. I was scared. I was really scared, but I got back to the front of the grid, luckily, just in time.
Well, before we let you go after this wild one, anybody you'd like to shout out or thank?
Shout out. Well, I keep saying the same things, man. I love you guys. You guys are really great to work with now. I can say that a little bit. It's really fun to do this. I spent a lot of time doing this, but I love doing it for everybody here. I'm getting a lot of appreciation from all the drivers and you guys. So I love putting in the time and doing it for everybody, so we can make this a really fun league, and hopefully for years to come.
All right. Well, that was your P5 finisher and recent admin in the Spec-5 World Tour, Ray Lombardi. Let's bring that show to an end. It's always a fun interview with Ray. Alex, what a race, what a season.
What a race, what a season indeed. And such a fantastic race to close it out. I mean, just this race, I mean, it had everything. You had the crashes on the first lap, everybody trying to scramble for as many spots as possible. You had the championship implications with Ronnie Coates and Cameron Hibbert just trying to do anything they can to get themselves more points. But in the end, you can only have one Pro Class championship, or you can only have one Pro Class champion, and that ended up going to Mitchell Peak. So, Randall, any final thoughts about the race and this season as a whole?
Well, in a points structure like this league has, Mitchell Peak shows it's more about consistency than it is overall speed. Had a very consistent season. He was pretty fast. Don't count him out there. He was very fast and got some wins himself, but consistency was the key, paid off, and brought home the trophy.
All right, well, for the final time this season, let's round it off. This has been Slow Motion Broadcasting's coverage.
Hang on.
Oh, God.
I'll take care of this one, guys. So we do have a few upcoming broadcasts here. Just in case you were wondering, we've got the WSRL Endurance Series for their final race. Race number 5 is going to be at Sebring. It's going to be a 6-hour race starting Sunday morning at 9 o'clock in the morning. If you guys really want to watch that, it is a great league to watch. We're going to have Alex Andersen and Randall McGrew and me in on that one, actually. So if you guys didn't have enough of the Spec-5 tonight, then come on over, watch the Endurance Series on Sunday morning. Then we've got Cross Series League Racing Sunday evening at 8:10 p.m. Eastern. Or in the Radicals around the road course of the Daytona International Speedway. If you guys watched last Sunday, it was the Radicals at the Daytona Oval. And if that race has anything to say about this race, it's going to be a good one. Alex, you can have it back.
All right, well, I'm going to try that one more time. I'm going to see if I can hack into Adam's PC and turn his microphone off now so I can finish this. For the final time, hopefully this season, if I'm not rudely interrupted again. This has been Slow Motion Broadcasting's coverage of Season 11 of the Spec-5 World Tour, the final race of the season before they have a little hiatus here. Congrats to Mitchell Peak and Sean Hayes on their respective championships. My name is Alex Andersen. I have been joined in the commentary booth by Randall McGrew with Adam Thompson in our virtual production truck. And from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, for the Spec-5 World Tour for the last time this season, have a good night.